What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So we got big news on a couple different fronts here. First, which might affect your wallet here. Take a look at this. Okay, number one, OPEC Plus. Think Saudi Arabia, Middle East, a whole bunch of different countries, and Russia. Russia's the plus in OPEC Plus. Makes shocking announcement: a million barrels per day cut of oil production and new inflation risk. Okay. Now remember, this is oil is traded on a global market. So this basically raises the price of oil and thus raises the price of gas worldwide, including the United States. Remember that gas and oil is sold by gas and oil companies on a worldwide basis. You think of Shell, BP, all these gas and oil companies, they sell oil and gas worldwide. So it doesn't really matter too much how much the US produces because these oil and gas companies, oil is traded on a worldwide basis. Now, so they just made a million barrel per day cut. And don't forget here, this is an article here from October. Why are gas prices going up? More pain at the pump as OPEC cuts oil production by 2 million barrels per day. So in October, they cut production by 2 million barrels per day. Saudi Arabia, Russia, all the OPEC plus countries. Now they just cut it by another million barrels per day. So they've cut production by 3 million barrels per day. Yeah. So, and remember, we had seen oil prices really, really low. They were in the 70-ish range a few days ago. They've already bumped up here to 85 and 80. So you can see the quick jump up here already. And this is basically what these oil producing nations do to prevent oil and gas from getting too low. And this is why oil and gas prices will never get down really low like we want them to ever again. Okay. It's just a sad situation. Remember, the oil and gas companies are really in the background celebrating this, right? Yeah. So it's really, really unfortunate here because the low and middle income Americans and people around the world are the people that take the hurt on this the most. And you can see here, this is with gas already at $3.50 a gallon average price here in the US. It's actually up since a week ago when oil prices were down. Remember, they've already started to come back up. Was $3.43, and a month ago was $3.39. So we're already at $3.50, and now they've made this cut production. Remember, the US isn't in OPEC plus, but this affects oil prices around the world. So when oil prices go up, gas prices go up here in the US because it's just like a stock of IBM or stock of Apple or stock of anything. It's going to affect prices here in the US. It's just how things work because these are traded here on a global basis. Okay. These at $4.20. And this is why gas is going to continue to go up here year over year. I mean, not necessarily every year, but over time, gas is going to go up. This is why when I was in high school, gas was, a dollar or below a dollar at some points. And this is why you can just think about it over the course of the next 10 or 20 years. Where do you think gas is going to be? Do you think it's going to be higher or lower than it is now? I mean, 20 years ago, well, I'm 42, so I was in high school a little bit over 20 years ago. Gas was a dollar, less than a dollar. It's never going to go back to that. And 20 more years from now, or 10 more years from now, gas prices are probably never going to be what they were today. Gas prices are just going to continue to go up. And honestly, that's why the government here in the US and other governments around the world have invested in other types of power, at least for the power grid, in things like solar and wind turbines and things like that. Because when you put a solar panel up or fields a solar panel, or if you put solar panels on your house, you pay for it once and then it produces you electricity every single day of the year that you have sun, and you pretty much pay nothing. You maybe have some maintenance here or there, but it's basically free energy for the most part, and you don't have rising costs where every day you go to fill up your gas tank, it's getting more and more expensive year over year over year. And the other problem is you have these big oil companies and you have these gas companies and these gas countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the OPEC plus countries working against you, trying to wring every single dollar out of us and their own people that they can. And then the other thing that comes into this is how the Fed is going to react to this as well, and interest rates. Here's Wharton professor Jeremy Siegel with an analysis on this. Take a listen.
Jeremy Siegel's here, professor emeritus of finance, of course, at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. Well, this added a new wrinkle to the mix, Professor, because we now have inflationary pressure. You were just hearing from Brian as a function of what OPEC's doing. I don't know if that was in the Fed's calculus and therefore what they're going to have to do about it.
That's true, Andrew. But remember, the Fed mostly watches core inflation, which excludes the food and energy component. Secondly, and thank goodness that the U.S. is virtually energy independent as compared to Europe and Japan and other parts of the world. So we do have a lot of offset. I mean, we have a lot of producers that are going to gain that aren't in other countries. We see the jump in oil stocks. I think something that was interesting to me, natural gas today, which, by the way, is more important for heating and electricity generation, actually bumped to new lows. So a lot of our energy, at least in the near term, is not going up. I actually don't think this is going to be a major issue. I mean, again, the Saudis did this to offset the decline because of the fear of recession, caused by an overtight Fed. And they're just bringing the price back up to where it was 2 months ago.
So where are you therefore on the larger equity piece of the market? We were talking to Leon Koopman earlier, and he has, let's say, a flattish to potentially dourish view, does not have a particularly bullish view on the universe, especially when you start to look at the indexes.
Yeah. Well, as I said last week, I was really disturbed. The Fed's official forecast that it gave in its March meeting is for negative GDP growth over the last 3 quarters of this year, which of course just started a couple of days ago. 0.4% for the year, and we're going to have 2.5% to 3% first quarter, means negative second, third, fourth quarter. It's hard to be really optimistic about equities if the Fed wants to design a negative GDP growth. Now, maybe they don't understand their own forecast. If you put it to them, did you say, hey, do you know what you just forecast there? I don't know if they'd step back from that, but certainly that was not a very encouraging forecast. If they want to be tight enough to produce that negative, it is going to be hard for equities to make progress.
Oh, and look, we've been speaking for years. You have historically been on the bullish side and, by the way, on the right side, because over time, things typically do go up over time. When you think about sort of your outlook, is that a 6-month outlook? Is that a 12-month outlook? If you had a 2 or 3 year outlook, where do things sit for you?
Well, I think, that is that would be 3, 6, 9 months. I mean, I actually think that I'm more optimistic for 2024 and 2025. I mean, I think the valuations of stocks look good to me in the long run. Long-term holders, I don't think should be frightened. But it's hard for me until the Fed sees, what the effect. And by the way, what's interesting is that the data we're going to get the labor report later this week, and a lot of other data actually means less now than it did before SVB, because all the data we're getting now doesn't reflect the chilling effect of the banking crisis. We're not going to really get that data until very late in April and May. May 3rd is the next Fed meeting. They'll just begin to get that data. So in a way, everyone looks at the labor report. I will look at the labor report, but again, it will not reflect what has happened in the banking sector, and that's a chill that I think the Fed has to recognize.
Which means,
honestly, everybody that I hear speak is criticizing the Fed and Jerome Powell, and I don't hear anybody at this point defending the Fed of raising interest rates more. I mean, we hear him saying it's stifling the economy, it's stifling the stock market, it's stifling our GDP growth, and we for sure know that it's hurting low and middle income Americans. We know that raising interest rates is costing people on their credit card interest rates, mortgage interest rates, car interest rates. I mean, mortgage interest rates have more than doubled. They went from 3% or under 3% to 7%. I mean, credit card interest rates are at all-time highs at an average of 20% or more, with the highest credit card interest rates being at 35%-ish. So it's just like, I personally think it's time to stop the interest rate cuts. Anything that has been affected by inflation with interest rate cuts has already taken place. So, do we really need to keep hurting low and middle income Americans and our economy growth by hammering with the interest rate raises? I personally don't think so. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I just think that enough is enough with the interest rate raises. Let's hold off just a little bit on it. I mean, now we got these run on the banks. We got major banks failing. We have the second and third largest bank failures. We have other international bank failures and other ones on the verge of it as well. And they're exposed to this as well, because when the U.S. is raising interest rates, that affects U.S. treasuries and other securities that are interest rate sensitive. So this is affecting international banks as well. And, it's just like enough is enough. Let's just hold off for the rest of the year on the interest rate hikes. Let's just see where everything lies and let's calm down. Let's give the consumer and Americans and our economy a break a little bit. We've already raised interest rates, what is it, 9 times now in the last little bit over a year. Enough's enough. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos as well. Here's some videos you should watch next. The Fed actually started rolling out their own digital dollar. That's right. You should click here to watch that video if you haven't yet. And here's my most recent video on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.